I felt such a tender touch on my back, like a tender touch that rubbed my back, and I felt it come through the front of my chest, through my heart. And I remember like stopping crying, and I was like, what was that? And I was like, did my higher self like just touch me? Like, oh, you know? Hey world, welcome to From Scratch. From Scratch is a faith-based podcast that is discussing what we are doing as individuals to entertain disruptive thinking and what we are doing to cultivate the embodiment of ourselves. Nothing about this is about playing safe, nor is it about being a hostage, but basing in your freedom. We are navigating through moments that we were hardly equipped for, but now have the awareness and discernment to understand that we are being provided tools to catapult us right into purpose. I want to start out with an affirmation of the day, and I want you guys to say this with me. But when you say it with me, like, say it with your chest. I am triumphant. I am triumphant. How'd that make y'all feel? Yes. Claim it, okay? Claim it. All right, so let's get right into it. Jealousy and trust today is what the topic is about. And I'm a very curious person. Before I just like throw stuff out, I like to do research. And when I received this assignment, I was really curious as to where jealousy comes from. I think we all might have a universal underlying understanding to what jealousy is, but the true definition of jealousy is feeling resentment against someone because of that person's rivalry, success, or advantages, which is pretty universal because we have a comprehension for that. But I really wanted to get into like the deep, okay? I was looking for a root word. Then it brought me to looking for a spiritual root word. And the root word is zealous, which led me to a spiritual root word of idolatry. And this is where it got interesting for me, y'all, because I realized that this was so much more than just like a surface level, like she looks better in white, I look better in green type of thing, you know? Idolatry means placing one's satisfaction in something other than God. Y'all, when I tell you this is the part where it got really interesting for me, I was locked in, okay? Because I started to realize that, all right, there's certain scenarios, like off the surface, give me your feedback. Like, when has jealousy come up from you guys? But off the surface, I knew that jealousy came up for me in group environments. Jealousy has come up in growth. Jealousy has come up on social media. Jealousy has come up through disappointment. Jealousy has come up in comparison, okay? So when I started to think of examples of each of those things in my life, I started to think like, well, how does this correlate to me, like, idolizing? And that brought me to other moments. It brought me to other moments where I was like, well, dang, how many times have I been jealous of myself? How many times have I been jealous? Like, and I think that we all might be a little guilty of this. How many times have we been jealous of a past version of ourselves? Like, I remember after having children, I was like, ugh. I mean, not like, ugh, but I was like, I just want to go back to that other version of, like, my perspective is changing and my priorities are changing and I'm just like not that person anymore, but there are traits about that girl that I just want back. Okay, there's so many times where we like jealousy doesn't even come up like in the outside world. Jealousy comes up as like in a reflection of us where we're looking at ourselves in the mirror and we're disappointed with, you know, what we're left with. Or another thing that I came across, or like, you know, a moment for me was the many times where I was jealous when I was a child. I was raised by a single mother. So there were so many times where I was jealous of the fact that people I was connected to or peers, you know, around me, they had their fathers to be present for moments where I wish that my father was present, not realizing that he never forsake me, okay? Like, he was there for me the entire way, and my struggles are nothing compared to somebody else's struggles. At the end of the day, what's for you is absolutely for you, okay? So we can't even be mad at someone else's position, because now I have a wonderful stepfather where somebody else's father might have stepped out in their years later. So you can't compare. Or somebody might have lost their father in their later years, and now I have a wonderful man that has stepped up as a father, and now they're just missing their father. They're just yearning for that conversation that is a one-way conversation now. So we have to play a balance in the situations that we compare ourselves to, and where jealousy comes up in, because jealousy ideally comes up, like, what really made me look into the definition was words are not just words, like, there's power in the tongue, there's power in what we're speaking. So somebody came across this and decided to make this an official word and put a definition next to it, and that's what illuminated my thought process on searching, because I was like, whoa, well, did someone learn this life lesson? Like, did someone have the discernment to take a moment to self-reflect and realize that jealousy came up at a time of quote unquote affliction, and there was moments to take accountability for who you are becoming. So when we're looking at other examples of jealousy, social media plays a huge one. And this is where I want you guys to take a few moments to ask yourself who you are and ask God to reveal to you who you truly are, because social media will have you confused. Social will have you confused and afflicted with your idea of success. Like, looking at somebody else and seeing, oh, they're 22 with a Mercedes-Benz and a successful business, and they don't have to clock into somebody. But you have no idea what it took for them to get there. You have no idea what they battle with behind closed doors. Social media is a choice. What I mean by that is we choose what we want the world to perceive us as. If I post a picture of my planta, me next to my homegirl like this, okay, I'm choosing to let you know in that moment I might have a little green thumb, but you might not see the other side where she's completely yellow and her leaves are withering. Okay, she's not, she's thriving. But what I'm saying is that you only see what people allow you to see. So you cannot let that alter your thought process of what success is. You can't allow that to let you be deterred from your authentic self because you're living in flaws. When I look at things and I look at my milestones and I'm like, I don't ideally have that multi-level business that I was searching for, but you know what? I have a lot of life lessons that I needed to get there, to appreciate the discipline it takes for me to move at the capacity over here. God works in such a funny way. God works in such a crazy way, okay? Like, he might illuminate the steps in front of you, but he will never illuminate the entire path. But what he will do is present you with opportunity. Everything works together for a greater good. Like, what's for you is for you. And the fact that you take steps alone towards navigating through the next with these life lessons, navigating through the next with your current capacity and your elasticity of your capacity, that will show God enough to double back. God will leave the 99 for the one, okay? He will double back on your blessings, and he will double back and show you moments where you could cultivate a relationship, whether it be relationship with someone else on embarking on your journey professionally, business-wise, whatever, or cultivating a relationship with yourself, or even more important, cultivating a relationship with him, okay? I'm talking about jealousy as if it's not like a natural thing. We've all experienced jealousy. It is 100% a natural thing, okay? So natural that in so many ways we are just like our Father, okay? Our God in Deuteronomy 4:24, we learn and he reveals that he's a jealous God. God doesn't like us idolizing anything other than him. God doesn't like us worshiping anything other than him. So while I'm here thinking, and while I was in those seasons of comparing myself, like, wow, like, my perspective is not where it was then, where it is now. My ideas of worship are not where it was then and where it is now. My ideas of pleasures are not where it was then compared to where it is now. Okay? So it's removing yourself from those ideas of what's not in your control, and fully walking in your authenticity is absolutely a great segue to trust. When I got into trust and I was looking into trust, I was wondering, like, is trust a feeling or is trust a choice? The definition of trust is reliability, truth, and strength. Okay, sure. So when I found that out, I was like, trust is definitely a feeling. Like, reliability, strength, and truth, like those are all things that we get from repetition. Those are all things that we get from receiving but also giving. Those are all things from the intuition. Trust comes from your intuition. Trust yourself. Oh my goodness, that's the overall message, guys. Trust who you are and trust your journey, to appreciate everything that you're picking up on. Because let me tell you this, along with jealousy, you have to be careful who you envy, because you do not want to envy or inherit their issues too. Okay? What I mean by that is, I'll give a personal example. I remember times where people were applauding me, worshiping me, telling me like, okay, queen, you're doing this, you're doing that, you don't look like what you've been through, and all this stuff. But they didn't know that I was going home and I didn't have the emotional capacity to be present enough for my children. I didn't have the capacity to take back my mind and take control over my mind and stop allowing the enemy to infiltrate my mind with suicidal thoughts, okay? Infiltrate my mind with thoughts of depression and making me depressed, okay? I remember one night after a day of, I was at a play date with my children, my friends, giving me all this praise, and I came home to weep. I was crying, full on boohoo crying, guys. And when I was talking to God, I was like, why, God? Why? I was just doing the whole weepy thing. And I had a beautiful encounter with God that I later on realized I didn't even realize in that moment. I definitely noticed. I was weeping, laying in my bed, full on crying, and I felt such a tender touch on my back, like a tender touch that rubbed my back, and I felt it come through the front of my chest, through my heart. And I remember like stopping crying, and I was like, what was that? And I was like, did my higher self like just touch me? Like, oh, And I realized later on that I was touched by the Holy Spirit. Guys, at my absolute lowest, at your absolute lowest, like, God will come and pick you up. Last episode, I was talking about being caught up yet called up. I shared with you guys on how I struggled with suicide for a while. I shared with you how God came up and resurrected me. This was a part of my resurrection. God was coming and giving me doses of his hand, okay, all along the way before he came and yoked me and broke me free from those chains, all right? You have to be careful who and what you are envying, because this whole time you are trying to be on a journey through purpose, and what you envy and who you envy might catapult you into a season of drought. When you start to appreciate yourself and when you start to trust yourself, you start to realize that you don't need approval or acceptance from anybody outside of God, okay? I'm gonna say it again. You do not need acceptance or approval from absolutely anybody outside of God. And let me give you guys the biggest indicator that you already have God acceptance. You're blessed enough to have woken up and seen the daylight and taken a fresh breath in your body. That is the biggest confirmation that you will receive daily, that you still have a purpose here, okay? God hasn't given up on you because you haven't given up on yourself, because you are on your journey to trusting yourself, okay? When you start trusting yourself, you're walking in your authenticity. You don't need approval from anywhere else. So you're able to authentically show up into rooms where you are impeccably placed, okay? You're able to, how you start showing up for yourself most certainly reflects in how you start showing up in the world. You start to realize that you needed all of that along the journey to present to you the now tools you have available for you to be able to catapult and walk in your purpose. And as you're walking, you'll see the illumination of God as he's guiding your footsteps, guys. Frequency you're vibrating on, it shows the things that are you're attracting, the opportunities you're attracting, the people that you're attracting. Last episode I talked a lot about being caught up and called up. I discussed much about open doors and closed doors and just leaving things behind where they're at because you need to pick up on the lessons. Listen, like, accepting yourself and walking in your authenticity will have doors that will open for you with God. Like, God is just ready to burst through with opportunity for you, burst through with life for you, burst through with purpose, okay? Nothing that he does goes unfinished, and I will continue to say it. I will even continue to use this as a reference. We are butterflies, okay? A butterfly starts off as a caterpillar. It goes into its cocoon, and when it comes out of the cocoon, it literally gets its strength from pushing through all that mucky stuff, pushing through all the mucky emotions of severed relationships, jealousy, comparison, like, y'all. Okay, like, the mucky stuff is your sign to push through. You are one of one. You are authentic. The traits that you have are completely intangible. What you bring forth towards the world is most definitely worthy of showing off, and nothing he starts goes unfinished, okay? So everything that we pick up along the line are most certainly tools to help us produce, okay? Sometimes we are our own answer to provision. Like, God will send us. God will reveal to us, like, oh, well, baby, hold on. I want to end with two things, and it's a quote, an affirmation. I forgive myself to free myself. I am triumphant. I forgive myself to free myself. And one more statement. How can you be found if you've never been lost? That's a wrap.